I know you're telling me, 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 I know you're telling me you're leaving. But all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how.
What's going on? It's Stranger, and welcome to another YouTube music production video, where my mission is to help you succeed in making music. And today we're going to be doing something a little different. I've been feeling that dancey house vibe that producers such as Meduza, as well as artists like Becky Hill has been doing. It's a fun, upbeat, and energetic genre, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun making something like this today. Now, before I got into drum and bass, I actually fell in love with house music first. So I started making house music back in 1996, and some of the influential artists for me during that time included Kenny Dope Gonzalez as well as Louis Vega, who both went under masters at work, as well as Todd Terry and Armin van Helden, to name a few. But comment down below and let me know what are some of your favorite house tracks. Now for today's video, I'm going to keep it a little general so we won't go through the nitty-gritty details of sound design, because today's lesson is more about understanding the concepts behind composition, layering, and arrangement. Now I know there's a lot of drum and bass fans here, but I think it's a good idea to keep your mind open, because what I'm going to teach you today can be applied to virtually any genre. And if you want to keep getting content like this, then make sure you hit the subscribe and bell notification. And if you enjoy it, please like the video, comment, and share it. Your engagement helps my channel grow. And make sure you stick around to the end. I have a little treat for all you drum and bass fans. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, first we're gonna build a basic house beat, so we have a basic rhythm to build over. So I'm gonna build a quarter note kick, and I chose a tight kick for house. Okay, so now we're going to layer a clap on beat 2 and 4, and I'm going to use the 707 clap. It's just a bit different from the typical 909 house clap. And we're just going to add a little bit of reverb to it so there's a bit more flavor. Now the key here is I have a pre-delay around 180 milliseconds. It just gives that bounce back sound. And we can add saturator to give it a bit of dirt. Okay, so now I have some typical 909 hi-hats for house music. Now I'm going to add a shaker to add a little more rhythm to our beat, and we're using the 16th note pattern, and I'm using the velocity to give it a little more groove. So the pattern is high, low, medium, low. Then we can copy it through. Now we can add some groove to give it a little more swing. Then I have this little snare here that we can use for a shuffle on the ghost hits. So we can add one there. Can duplicate it and then add a variation at the end here, and remember to add some groove to it so it's in sync. Okay, so we have a pretty good beat here, so we can start layering some sounds. And what I like to do is to layer some vocals, because vocals give us a foundation to then add some additional musical layers. And there's a really nice pack out there on Splice. It's called the Vocal Hooks Pink Label. There's a lot of cool vocal bits that you can use. Now I found one in particular here that works really nice.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how.
Now what's great about Splice is it indicates the BPM and the key, so it's at 120 beats per minute and it's written in the key of A minor. Now Ableton doesn't always correctly map the tempo, so we have to change the tempo here to 120. Now you're gonna have to use your sense of rhythm or your DJ skills to find the first beat of the vocal.
I know you're telling me
You can feel it sometimes, so there's kind of like a downbeat on the word tell. So we're gonna move the start position to the word tell here.
telling me you're leaving.
Now this vocal is written in the key of A minor, however I want to write in the key of F minor. It just gives us more lower notes for the bass to get that rumble. So F is 4 notes down from A, so I'm going to hit -4 here. Now we're going to have to switch the algorithm that stretches out the vocal to make it a little more smooth. So I'm going to change it to Complex Pro and then bring the format down.
Telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now.
Okay, let's add some processing to the vocal. So I have an EQ, take out that low end.
Telling me you're leaving.
Add some reverb.
Telling me you're leaving.
We can add some delay for more wetness.
Telling me.
Now we can add an additional vocal, so there's a counter melody to the vocal. So again, fix the tempo, it's at 115, and this one's playing in the key E minor, so move it up so it's F, and then we're moving this to the first beat here. I'm gonna bring this an octave down. Add some processing. Okay, so now that we have some vocals, it then becomes really easy to find some music that works with it. And the first thing I like to add is a bass sound. So I'm going to aim for kind of a filter Reese sound for the bass. It's actually commonly used by Meduza. Sawtooth. Unison mode at 8. Let's filter this guy. Modulate the filter. The envelope. EQ it a bit. Add a bit of saturation. So I'm going to write a 4-bar melody with the bass line. And remember, we're in the key of F, F minor. I gotta bring the cutoff down, and I'm gonna switch it to LP24. Let's add some side chain compression to make that bass pump with the kick a little bit. Got the compressor, side chain it to the kick. Then bring the threshold down. Bring the ratio up. Bring that vocal back.
Telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now.
Okay, so now that we have the bass line, we can add some additional music and harmony to it. So let's add some chords. And I found this good preset on Pigments. It's called Starpeggio. Essentially, it's an arpeggiator that plays a rhythm with the keys. So if you hold the chord together, it creates some nice melodies. You can do this with most synths. They usually come with a set of presets that include a arpeggiator section that would create a rhythm like this. Now I'm just going to build a chord from the bass notes. So I'll copy the bass over. I'll just rename it here. Shift this 2 octaves up. Now that sounds good, but I think it sounds more in depth if you can build a chord on top. Now here's a trick: if you don't know your scales, just write it in the key of A and then bring it back down to your original key. So we're gonna shift this to A, then make this a triad, so every other white key to play the triads, and just make sure they're playing white keys. If they aren't, then move it up, like this guy. And then we can shift it back down to F. Now I'm going to add another chord, and we're just going to layer the chord to add a little more depth. And I just duplicated the bass patch and I'm playing an octave up. So we'll just copy the chord pattern and then we'll just move it an octave up. We're going to add one more sound. A sound that's used a lot in house music is a high string that plays one note. It just helps build tension. So I have this preset on Pigments. It's called Call Me Monday. It has that high string sound I want. So remember, we're in the key of F, so we just need to play one long note in the key of F. And make sure we're on an octave that's high enough. Like that. We can make this an 8-bar pattern and just stretch the note out. Now adjust the level so it's not too loud. Alright, so I think we have enough parts here to then create a little sequence in the arrangement section. So let's copy it over. Okay, now we're going to stretch it out. Now we're going to use 8-bar blocks. A lot of shorter dance formats use the 8-bar blocks for their arrangement.
Telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now and hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how. I know you.
Now it's important to name all your parts. It just becomes a little more organized and easier to arrange. So I'm going to duplicate this 8-bar sequence a couple times. I'll introduce the second vocal first, and then I'll bring in the main vocal, and then I introduce the second vocal after. I'll probably introduce the high string later as well, including the chords. Yeah, so I'll remove the percussion, such as the hi-hat and shakers and ghost snares in the first 2 blocks. So we can add a little pause here for a little tension before the main vocal comes back. And actually the main vocal has a few words as a lead in, so we should stretch this clip back a few beats here like that.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now.
Now we can add some crashes and risers to help with the transitions. So I have this little riser here.
I know you're
And then we have a crash here.
telling me you're
Actually liking the quadruple crash that Meduza has been using.
telling me you're leaving.
Let's add a double kick on the very first impact here.
Telling me you're leaving, but all I want.
Now we can add a shorter pause right before the second vocal comes back in.
I know you're telling me you're leaving.
Okay, that sounds good. Now we can add that riser in as well.
Up there, show me how. I know you're telling me you're leaving.
Okay, so let's build an intro and we can copy this block over. And we'll just take out the bass from the intro as well as the second vocal. Maybe take out the main vocal for the first bit. Take out the kick from the intro. And perhaps we can chop up the vocal on the first 8 like this.
Telling me you're telling me you're telling me
Now I feel like we need an additional sound to kind of build the intro up, and I'm thinking another stabbed chord sound. So I have this Pigments sound here. It's called Refreshing Keys. So we can write some nice chords with this. Now I'm just gonna copy the chord clip. Now let's modulate the chords a bit. So we're gonna play with the voicing, and what that means is we can mute certain notes or change the octave of some notes as well. So I'm muting this G sharp here, and maybe bring these minor thirds an octave up like that. Let's maybe bring this an octave up, duplicate this F note here. Okay, so that's a nice feel, and we can use this in the intro.
know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now.
And we can add a pause right before the song drops.
Way to stop this, show me how.
Now we'll fix the ending of this vocal. It loops, so we're missing the very end of this verse, so we'll just turn off the loop here and let's make sure the vocal plays out.
Way to stop this, show me how.
And we can mute some of the chords at the end as well.
Way to stop this, show me how.
And perhaps we can introduce that riser again.
Stop this, show me how. Way to stop this, show me how.
So we reintroduced the second vocal as a counter vocal to the main vocal, and it's a nice harmony on top of the main vocal.
I know you're telling me you're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold you now.
And this high string adds some nice tension.
If there's a way to stop this, show me how.
And lastly, we'll add some additional riser, maybe a snare roll before the drop. So we're gonna add a snare roll in the last 8 bars of the intro. Then make it faster as it progresses. Let's automate the volume.
If there's a way to stop this, show me how.
Finally, we can add this riser sample here. I just found it from the Vengeance pack. It's in the key of G, so we'll just transpose it down to F and use Complex Pro.
Telling me you're leaving, but all if there's a way to stop this, show me how.
Now, I just thought of another trick we can do to the vocals. We could double up keywords, pitch it up, and then shift it in the sequence.
Telling me you're leaving,
So leaving could be a keyword to double up.
my heart beating.
And then beating is nice as well if there's a pause after it. So we'll make a copy of the word leaving here.
Leaving,
And then we'll pitch it up by 1 octave. So -4 plus 12 is 8. Then we'll move the format up to 100. And then just fine tune the start of the word here, add a fade. And then we'll do the same thing to this word here.
heart beating,
Copy it down,
beating.
pitch it up. And then we'll shift the double up 2 beats over like that.
You're leaving, but all I wanna do is hold. Heart beating. If there's a way.
Now another trick I thought of is we can double up the main vocal and we can play the second vocal 1 octave down. So -4 minus 12 would be 16. Then just bring the format down to smooth out that rendering. Now we can bring the volume down on that second vocal. And to create some stereo depth, we can pan the main vocal a bit to the left, so at 12 to the left, and then the lower vocal can be 12 to the right. Alright, while doing this, I just thought of yet another trick. We can duplicate that second vocal and then play a higher pitch on the second one. And I want it 2 octaves up, so that would be 13. I'm just gonna adjust the format up. Okay. I just pan that a bit to the right. Okay, so let's listen to the final product. I just cleaned up some of the pauses and I filtered the vocal and the intro. So here it is.
And hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how.
Alright, so we have a pretty good sequence here. Now, to make it a full song, you can repeat this entire sequence and perhaps extend the breakdown to create a little more tension. And then you could add additional percussion on the second drop for more energy. But as you can see, once you have a vocal loop, it's then easy to then build the track because that vocal acts as a foundation and it gives us direction on how to build the bass line and chords. Remember, one of the main steps is to understand the key of that vocal and then build the song around that key. Now, when it comes to arrangement, it's about deconstructing the track and then introducing certain elements such as the stab and the vocal to really build up that energy. And remember, having that second vocal as a counter melody really creates a nice vibe for a track. So I know there's a lot of drum and bass fans here, so to please you guys, I bumped the speed up to 170 and I have a liquid drum and bass break here. And I just removed some of the filtering from the bass, so it's more of a drum and bass style bass. And then I did some filtering on those chords as well, so it's more drum and bass style. Now let's hear how this sounds over some drum and bass.
And hear the sound of your heart beating. If there's a way to stop this, show me how.
right, not bad. And it's always fun to pump it up to 170 beats per minute and see how it sounds at drum and bass tempo. Now I did find the main vocal sounded a bit sped up, but that's alright. It's something that we could work with. So I hope you guys found that helpful, and if you did, and if you enjoyed this, make sure you hit the like button, comment down below, also share the video. It really helps my channel grow. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. Thanks for watching, keep practicing, and I'll see you at the next video.